The NBA is fully in their trade season, which means absolute chaos. And this chaos has led to James Harden going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that has led me to ask just one simple question. The hell are they doing? Let's break down the Harden for Garland swap. So, the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that has struggled when getting to the postseason after strong regular seasons, figured that the antidote to that was acquiring James Harden, who maybe is the best player in the history of the NBA that fits that description. I gotta be honest, I don't get this one. I don't at all. And it's not even just the not clutch, whatever thing. Although, admittedly, that's a big part of it, is that I don't think I would go, man, I'm really struggling in the playoffs. You know what the antidote to that is? James Harden. I don't think that's a successful way of building a franchise, even a little bit. So I don't get that at all. I don't understand why they made this trade. Well, I do understand why they made this trade. I just don't understand why they think it's a good one to make from their perspective. And then just from an on-the-court style, I guess. You're not going to get much argument that even now, James Harden greater than sign Darius Garland. Like that does seem to make sense. Like, I don't know if it is that substantial of a gap, which is why it's only a second-round pick that's also going the other way. But for Cleveland, I'm going to make this case for another team later. For Cleveland, they are close enough that even just incremental gains feel like something that is worth giving up assets for. So from that standpoint, I understand it. But with an offense and a team that was already trying to figure out how to handle it with four guys, to then bring in one of the more ball-dominant guards in basketball in James Harden, again, I don't think it makes sense. Unless the NBA, in some backroom CBA negotiation, has now allowed for there to be multiple basketballs out on the court, I don't see how Harden with Mitchell, along with Mobley and Allen, is any kind of a fit at all. They were having trouble fitting it in with Garland, and now I feel like yes, you have upgraded in talent, but fit-wise, I don't think it works all that well either. So I see the desperation. I see a lot of the why on the Cleveland standpoint. I just don't get how all of that talk, all of we need to get better, we need to do this, we need to do that, ends with James Harden. I don't get how that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. On the Clippers side of this, I think this is a really smart trade. I think I've been pretty clear in that little bit. I'm not the biggest James Harden fan. So, no shit. I think that this is one that works for the LA Clippers as well. But they're in a unique spot because they are obviously not a competitive basketball team when it comes to winning a championship in the NBA. They're also very expensive. They're playing in a very expensive new arena, and they also, funny enough, don't have their first-round pick this year. So they can't necessarily go the traditional let's tear it all down route and try to get a bunch of picks and all of that, because part of the tear it all down part is to get really bad so you can take advantage of your draft picks, because when you're trading, if you are trading a Harden or a Kawhi or anything like that, then the draft picks you're getting are in the 20s, and that's not necessarily the rock-solid foundation you want to be rebuilding from. So the Clippers in a unique spot, and I think they're managing this quite well. You get out from James Harden, which is always a strategy that I would employ. But you get a little bit younger. Well, not a little bit. You get quite a bit younger, and I think you can stay competitive enough that the pick that you give to the Thunder isn't going to be an absolutely disastrous one or anything like that. So I think it makes sense for the very unique position that they are in. But I still think the world of Garland as a potential star in the NBA. I think injuries have gotten in the way. And look, I mean, when have the Clippers ever had bad injury luck? But when he is healthy, he is a really talented basketball player. And I think I don't think we're ever going to look at Garland as best player on a championship team, but you give him a really good number one, he could be a number two and absolutely a number three on a title team. In Cleveland, it was clear that it didn't all fit the way that they wanted it to, right? With anytime one of that four got hurt, everything worked more efficiently. So I can understand where Cleveland was coming from with this. Sorry, I'm shaking the table all over the place. I can understand a little bit where Cleveland is coming from with this, and he's the one that ends up being the easiest to move on from. But I think now that he has a bit more of an opportunity with the Clippers, and now him with Kawhi, I think is a really unique setup for him to really start to thrive at the things that he is good at. So I think it's a really smart move for the Clippers, and that's not something I say a whole lot. So that's where I'm at on that one. I am sure there are going to be some fans who disagree with me. So let me know in the comments, or if you're watching live, let me know in the chat, or if you're listening, let me know on social media, any disagreements you may have on that one. The next deal of the day, Nikola Vucevic goes to the Boston Celtics for Anfernee Simons. There's some second round swaps in there as well. That's actually not inconsequential to the Bulls. Like it's actually a decent second round pick that is heading their way. We'll talk about them in a second. For Boston, I do think it makes sense. I know that there's a little bit of because Simons has started to play better. It did not get off to a great start this season, but it looked like he was starting to figure out life in Boston. They were starting to figure out how to use him a little bit. And if nothing else, I think Celtics fans were hoping to shoot a little bit higher than Vucevic for what they could possibly get for Anfernee Simons. But Vuce, he fills basically... It is playing the role of Al Horford this year is Nikola Vucevic. He's going to go into that spot where he's going to hang out at the 3-point line and just kind of do his dance that way. I think it works. Like they needed another big. They still need some rebounding help. He's not that, but he's been shooting well from distance this season. Again, I think he fits that Horford role, at least on the offensive side, pretty effectively, and it was something that they needed at this time. I get it for the Bulls too. Like Simons is, I think, worth a bit of a lottery ticket. They did that with the Ivy trade that we'll get to here in a second. It does feel like more is coming from them because they're accumulating a lot of guards already. I don't think they looked at Brooklyn and thought, oh man, the model of 15 point guards on a roster is really working. Let's go for it. But So I think more is coming from this, but I do think Simons is an interesting piece that it's why Celtics fans were able to talk themselves into him when the trade was made in the offseason, and it's why Celtics fans were then able to talk themselves into him being part of a bigger move that could have brought a bit more of a star power-esque big into Boston than Vucevic is. And so now Chicago is going to be the next one that kind of tantalizes themselves with what the talent is on the Bulls side. Tantalizes themselves is a really bad phrase, and I apologize for saying it now twice. But they can start to see like, okay, maybe there's something going on here, and that's basically what this entire Bulls team is just a roster of, yeah, maybe, and I mean that it's certainly a choice for how to build a roster. So those are my thoughts on that one. Again, any disagreements, let me know in the comments or in the chat if you are watching this live. We have a couple more to go. I do want to remind you that we are streaming this live on multiple different platforms today over on Twitch, on Kick, and on YouTube. Coming up for those watching live, a little bit later on, we're going to get more into the Super Bowl, and we got some more wrestling talk coming up as the show rolls along. So make sure you stick around for all of that. And if you're watching this after the fact, that's the stuff we get to do on these live shows. It's just bounce around the world of sports. It's a whole lot of fun. So I hope you can come hang out with us here. All right. One of what looked like it was going to be the biggest trade of the day yesterday happened with the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz, as Jaren Jackson Jr. is now on his way to Utah. We talked about it a little bit yesterday when we did a video game over on Twitch. Again, we'll make the plug for that there. But I like this for Utah. I think this makes sense for them. And like they were talking about it on Zach Lowe's podcast with Bobby Marks. Like, it's one thing to just, okay, we're going to tank, we're going to be bad, we're going to get all these picks and all these picks and all these picks. At some point, you got to be good again. And I think they have recognized, like, Markkanen, instead of trading him away, Markkanen is kind of a superstar that they feel they can build around. And he has played too close-ish to that level. George has been a bit of a breakout this season, and they still have pretty high hopes for Ace Bailey as well. So you now have a bit of a foundation there, and now they're going with an identity, bringing in Triple J. Walker Kessler will be back next season, and this will be a very big basketball team that will give some teams some problems. So, like, does that five of Bailey, George, Markkanen, Kessler, and Triple J, does that scream championship to me? No, but that is at least a good start. And you at least see, okay, let's build this into some kind of a winner, and then let's assess what we actually need, see what's available, and make the move. Also, it is Utah recognizing that they are very uniquely Utah. And yes, they have a ton of salary cap space this upcoming offseason. No, not a soul in free agency is signing there. So they have to make their moves by making trades. And I think this is a good one. They've used up basically all the draft capital now that they had got in the Mitchell and the Gobert trades from a few years ago. And now it's go time. And I think this could really work with Triple J, Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. You have George, who, like we said, has really come into his own this season. Markkanen feels like a superstar. Like that's what you're looking to build around, and they have done that. On the Memphis side, like they recognized it was time for a change. Bane leaving last offseason was certainly the signal that they knew that this was going a bit of a different direction. And so I think they gave it an honest try. The Jaw stuff was just terminal, it felt like, to this basketball club. And so now they're going a different way. They got a boatload of picks now to start that foundation with. And you also have a giant in Zach Edey who can be kind of a strong piece to build around, and a couple interesting young pieces that they've been able to get over the last couple of years as well. So I think it's a smart recognition here for Memphis of what's happening, what's not happening, and where they need to go from there. So I think a pretty good move all around. But again, any disagreement, or if you just want to tell me how much you agree with me, let me know in the chat or in the comments. And the last one of the day is the one that is kind of the more I guess it was the first one of the day. No, this was the second one. This was the one that happened live while we were doing the stream yesterday afternoon. But it's the 3-team trade that Huerter, Ivy, Mike Connolly also involved in this as well, plus some draft swaps and just money. I like this for the Pistons. I know some people were a little down on it because, again, Ivy felt like a trade chip that could get you a little bit more in, like, he is the tantalizing young piece in a big type blockbuster move. If they wanted to get a Giannis or an AD or something along those lines. But I do still think that this fits what they are looking for. Ivy's been shooting better this year, but I trust Huerter a little bit more in the 3-point game. I don't know why I'm stumbling on all these words now. I trust him a little bit more shooting from distance, and I feel like that is a bit of an upgrade. And for a team that has spent all season first place in the Eastern Conference and has that superstar to build around in Cade Cunningham, incremental gains are important at this time. If you can just find a way to get a little bit better, he's going to be someone that they trust in clutch minutes in playoff games. You can trust him out there defensively, and he feels like the shooting piece that they have needed for a little bit here since the offseason didn't, or I guess even going back to last year, they had some needs, especially like depth scoring wise. This one I think really helps to kind of check that box for them. And then again for the Bulls, that they're going, or they have finally at least a little bit committed to a bit of a rebuilding strategy here. And when you have that, I don't mind taking the lottery ticket like they did with Simons. I like taking this with Ivy. I think he can still be a pretty solid contributing player to a pretty good basketball team. And now he's going to get a lot of opportunities to really contribute out in Chicago. It still feels like they have another move to make here. It's a weird mix out there, but I like some of the shots that they are taking right now. And then the Timberwolves part of this, they send Connolly out the door. I don't think Connolly is going to, I don't even think he flew to Chicago. I don't think he's going to spend a whole lot of time there. It gets some money off of the books if Minnesota wants to go out and make a really big splash with a couple of young pieces that they have. So they're a team that's going to be interesting here over the next 24 hours or so in basketball. But anyway, those are my thoughts on what was a wild day in the NBA's trade landscape. And I'm sure more to come because this league is never boring. But let me know your thoughts on the NBA trade period here. Do you agree with what I was saying? Do you not? And who needs to make a move now? Because now that the dust is settled from yesterday, I think we're going to see some more big names potentially moving over the next little bit. So let me know who you think needs to be taking advantage of a wild time here in the NBA. And while you're at it, if you could share this video with your basketball fan friends, I would absolutely love that. Love the group we got in the live chat right now, and those who comment on the videos as well. But if we could get a few more of you going, that would be a whole lot more fun to get more people going and involved in the chat. So hit that share button and send this out to a few people as we continue to try to grow things so I can continue to be the full-time streamer here chatting with Toxic and everyone today.